And we are here. Welcome, everybody. I'm Noah.
I'm
To the
Daivon.
blank
I'm
of
on
me
audio.
is, there we go. And we have this show idea. Well, Davon, why don't you tell them what this is? It is your idea to begin with.
Yeah, so pretty much I decided to take statements from the audience and just general statements. The two that I had in mind were Matt Ryan is washed, and pretty much we were gonna talk about if we agree, disagree, or in the middle, and we are gonna explain why.
Yeah, so this is why the show is called Agree to Disagree. It goes from everything from agreeing to disagreeing. Um, but let's mention some of the people that we have already here. Earlier on, we had Skizzle Gaming. I think he meant to say yes, sir, here because of the rest of the comment. He says yes, sir, Matty Ice. If his weapons stay healthy, then yes. Defense has to keep sevens off the board. This isn't the same Atlanta offense I skipped last show because I don't want to think about Matt Ryan leaving. And the reason as to why, he says he bought a Julio jersey a few years ago, and just like me, and now I can't really use it, but I just got a Matt Ryan jersey. Yeah, well, just like me, and I want him to retire here.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting name there, and he's pretty confident about that answer being a no. We got GGG here, saying not with the current team, he will not. Quarterbacks don't turn water into wine. That's true. YMOF Jamal 05. What's up, AFN family? How's it going for you as well? He says he believes Matt Ryan still has 3 or more good years in him and to play at a high level. And I think Arthur Smith is going to bring bigger wide receivers and better running backs, and think they're going to get more help on offense and defense and O line.
Yeah.
We got Jerry Bowie here. We also got Michael Walker here. So as we wait for possibly a few more people to join us, let's see. Do you want to start off with our thoughts on the Panthers game before we begin?
Yeah, we can start with that.
Or we can get one. Or we can kind of wait until we get some more people joining us.
Yeah.
So,
are you excited about it, or are you nervous?
I feel pretty good about it. You know, one thing that really helps us now is that it's an away game. So
yeah, we win a lot more.
I think it's just like the natural energy, no matter what it is. It's just that the fact that there's noise happening on the field when they're there, it kind of does something to them, I guess.
Yeah, we use that at home too, but I think winning cures everything.
Yeah, I remember back when I would play that old game from EA, Head Coach, the very first one, and like the loading screens that have like these inspirational quotes by former head coaches. One of them was from John Madden. He said, "Winning is a great deodorant."
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. It's like, all right, yeah. Well, leave it to Madden himself to say something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's more so that even though we lost our last game, I do still see some growth with the team.
Yeah.
The run game has picked up a lot better, and that's something that we've been missing for quite a while. I think it's been like over a season or something since we had a 100-yard rusher. Yeah. I know we've had that in back-to-back seasons, or back-to-back games at least. That's a good start, especially when we were facing Tampa, that boasted the number 1 run defense in the NFL.
Yeah, that was impressive.
So you pair that up with a passing attack that frankly leaves a lot to be desired.
Mm-hmm.
You have a defense that's growing, but it still has to worry about a bunch of checkdowns because that's all Brady did, basically.
Yeah.
But beyond that, one thing that I really liked from the team was that first initial drive. Even though it wasn't very eventful, that Cordell Patterson run back-to-back with the Mike Davis rushing touchdown, that sent us going.
Yeah, I
Did we
thought that.
did we do much with it after that?
Nah.
We tried. All right. Marlon Davidson definitely helped us out with the pick six. And then we got some momentum back onto the field. We had the ball in the second half, and then Russell Gage
That fumble. That was hard.
See,
Gave it
when
right
I
back to him.
exactly when I how's it going, work flow, Jay? Remember what Daivon's over here as well.
How you doing?
But he's in the shadows.
Yeah.
But I know, like when we pick up momentum, it's fine. We can keep it there. But there was that drive, and then there was the drive before that where we couldn't punch it in to the end zone.
Yeah, at the one. Yeah.
And we had that rollout play.
That's the one I saw in the video. Yeah.
Got completely blown up.
Yeah.
Then, we went for a running play the next play, but muffed the snap because that's kind of what happens when you swap centers.
Yeah.
You lose certain bits of chemistry with another. You can only get so much practice from both of them at the same time, whereas most quarterbacks just have the 1%er to practice with. And then the third play, it was a bit controversial, but the point is that it was pretty close into Cordell Patterson's hands.
Yeah.
Defense also made a good play, but it's, it might be just a matter of, did Matt Ryan make the throw a little bit too late in order to have that happen to him? Did he, accidentally bring the defender back to the ball or back into the play? So we're going to dig into that a little bit as well. But overall, we were able to move the ball too. All right. We were able to convert third downs. And that is key for us moving forward. If we can continue our drives on offense against a stingy team that likes to keep the ball in their hands for as long as possible, and now we have a Panthers team that, quite frankly, I don't know what their offense is going to look like anymore. Not just because the Cam's the starter, not just because that the offensive coordinator is gone, not just because that Christian McCaffrey's out for the season, but it's just a matter of what our defense is going to do to attack them. They still have some good pieces on the field. It's just how do they distribute the ball to them?
Yeah.
One thing they have still going for them is DJ Moore, and what is good about him is that he can get the ball in more ways than just catching it and just having to rely on the quarterback.
Yeah.
So he can be that de facto runner. Their offensive line was still kind of meant to pass the ball, but then they had people that were trying to bring in for. I either think that they wanted to be more pass happy, or with Joe Brady there, and then they still wanted to double down on trying to be a run team.
Yeah.
Whatever the case was there, it was sending missed messages there.
Yeah.
It's like you have Christian McCaffrey here. That's good. And in recent years, he's been not just the main thing on your offense, he's kind of been the only thing on the offense. And then you overworked him to the point where now he's unreliable with his health.
Yeah, definitely. So,
yeah, that's not good. But then who do you have behind him? Well, one thing that the Panthers have benefited from McCaffrey is building their offense around a running back.
Yeah.
When you do that, anyone can produce. Look at Mac Davis last year. So you pair these things up with a yet another young but stout defense, it's still going to be a close game. And that's the thing that people might not like about it.
Yeah, that's the only thing that has me a little bit nervous.
It's like, sure, in some ways we can look at it and be like, yeah, we could possibly blow this team out the water. Are we really sure, though?
Our offense has to click. I mean, it really does.
And I think that we can definitely secure a win now.
Yeah.
we've had more examples of that this season than, well, frankly, in years past. But I think it's like when we play to our competition, it really shows what kind of team that we are too.
Yeah.
When we're trying to match on par with who we're up against, more often than not, we're going to lose against some of the teams that have just been on a bigger momentum swing.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to keep up with them on both the offense and defense, and we still struggle at that. Well, we kind of know the answers, though, is that we don't have all the proper pieces in place because the roster,
Yeah.
it's ugly.
Stan. Yeah.
So, again, that's my thoughts on it. But if it gets close, I trust our team to win.
Yeah. Especially over a team like, Carolina.
Did you have anything to add?
See, I'm really hoping we get the version of Cam that played against the Dolphins. I think that would be an ideal version to play against. Just obviously growing up as a Falcons fan, seeing Cam with the Panthers when he was in his prime, you didn't want to match up against him. So I'm hoping that the Falcons can get some pressure, make him throw off his spot because he's really not good at just dropping back and making ideal throws. They're usually either way overthrown or way just underthrown and just into the defender's hands. So hopefully, we come up with some interceptions that'll really change the game. We have to take advantage of it. Every time we get a turnover, we score 3 points from it and not 7,
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, with Cam, I can't trust the performances that he has against other teams and compare that to what he could do against us.
Yeah.
Because we grew up as his favorite team.
Yeah.
And when you're like that, what did Mike Davis do last year?
Mm-hmm.
They just simply wanted more, right? And that's going to play a factor. They also had the benefit of having the bye week too.
Oh yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah, that's why we couldn't really take a look at what they did last week because, well, they didn't really exist last week. But it is interesting about Cam's weakness. It's mostly been about his throwing mechanics and about his accuracy issues. So it still really hasn't been that, he can't move anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think against Arizona, he kind of showed that he still can.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not that's my biggest concern. Okay, here's a question for you. Who do you think at this point is faster, Sam Darnold or Cam Newton?
I think Sam Darnold.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
maybe it's because Cam's so big.
Or, he's probably endured more injuries. He's a little bit older or substantially older. But it's like for the most part, he knows how to run.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold, when he ran, he kind of more looked to pass still.
Yeah.
And that's what put our defense at a standstill because, well, hey, if we chase after you, then you're going to throw it over our heads.
Yeah.
I don't really feel that way with Cam, though.
No.
So when I see our defense be in situations where they have to make a decision between, do we let Cam throw it against us or do we let Cam, run?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say make him throw.
Yeah, definitely.
But what do you do there if you want him to make that decision for you?
See, what I'm hoping is that this team can get pressure on him. I think getting pressure, making him have to make throws or just scramble and continue to run, just make him one-dimensional. I don't feel confident that Cam could drop back like Brady, 50 times last week and just tear up this defense, sitting back in zone, So if Cam has one of those games, we're going to be up for a long day. But I'm hoping that we just get pressure to him. Playing man would kind of it's like you said, he can't run like that. Make him either pass or run. So playing man would leave us with, him plenty of space to run.
Yeah, I had to think about this question too. A part of me feels that sure, it's important to apply pressure,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually want him to throw.
Yeah.
I just don't want him to feel as if, okay, well, the internal clock shifted. It's time for me to move.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where that is with him right now. Like how long is that going to take where he feels like as if, okay, well, passing's not going to work for me anymore. I got to book it now.
Yeah.
So I think we have the defensive line to do that. Not just necessarily get after him, but more so make him overthink and make him become his biggest flaw.
Yeah, you could definitely do that with a quarterback like him.
Yeah, like I said, like it's his problem has kind of historically been his accuracy issues and his throwing mechanics. That's why he's had so many like shoulder injuries and whatnot because, well, he struggles with, well, not just holding the ball after he gets out the pocket because I mean everyone fumbles, but it's just mobile quarterbacks. They feel confident in their abilities to run, but yet they've not exactly told and trained to hold on to the football, as we previously mentioned before. So, and that wasn't said by me. That was said by former quarterbacks. I'm just saying what they've said.
Yeah.
So yeah, make him throw. His biggest weakness is not on the ground, and it's not yanking him out the pocket. It's having him make a decision and then feel uncomfortable with it. Because now he's at the point where he's got a new voice in his head, probably. I don't know if it's been like Matt Rule or whatever, but whoever's been making those play calls or coordinating the offense is going to be completely different. And now he's got a whole. I don't know how much can change in a simple like 2 weeks.
Yeah, like
but he got fired on the bye week though. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it's like it's that one meme. It's like, how'd you get fired on your day off?
Exactly. They said they fired him because he wasn't running enough. Was that like one of the main reasons? Is like Matt Rule felt he wasn't running enough, or he wanted to be more balanced?
So I actually didn't look that up. I don't know what they said about him as the reason why he was fired. If that's the case,
yeah, that's what I read in the comments, and everybody's saying he doesn't run enough. That's why we're looking to get a running. We want to establish the run, kind of like Dan Quinn used to say. When we could not establish the run, he just still did it.
Right. Hey, we got Dan Daivon 1 from England.
Hey,
watching us on Twitch. How's it going? Glad to join us. All right. Oh, he's got us a question. He asked, do you think my NFL team, the 49ers, can get into the playoffs? Well, you got Cincinnati coming up, and then you have us afterwards.
For the Falcons' sake.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, I was gonna look up their schedule real quick.
Yeah, what's the games after that for them?
So their schedule is the Falcons, Bengals, Titans, Texans, and Rams.
Okay, well, you got a freebie against the Texans. That's not fair. We're going to play you hard because, that's an away game for us.
Yeah.
So don't take us lightly. The Rams have something to prove.
Yeah, especially being 8-4. They're, 2 games? The 49ers are 2 games behind them, so.
Yeah, but it's all about that wild card spot. I don't think that they can usurp them yet.
Yeah.
Although they were on like a 3-game losing skid.
Yeah.
I think that they've been fine now that they had the Jaguars, to take out all their anger, like a little brother. But and then you said, what was the other team in between?
Cincinnati, and then Titans.
Titans are, oh man, they're a weird team
Will
too.
they have? I think Julio's back. I know that.
Oh,
What
finally?
about? Yeah, he's finally active. He's gonna play this week finally.
Jeez,
But
after hibernating like a bear.
he's like, oh, okay, now it's time. But so is the fifth? So 1, 2, 3, 4 are just locked up, right? 5, 6, and 7 are the wild card spots, or is it just 6 and 7?
Basically, because like the number 1 seed is obviously going to be Arizona. The number 2
Oh,
seed is
okay.
probably going to be Tampa Bay. The
Yeah.
number 3 seed is going to likely be Green Bay, and then the 4 seed might slip to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because like how hot their start was.
Yeah.
They're going to be the 4 seed.
That's insane.
5th seed's probably going to be locked up as the Rams. Then you have everyone fighting for a 6th and 7th spot. I think the 6th currently is the 49ers, and then the 7th seed might be Washington at this point.
Yeah.
Another team to watch out for, though, is Philadelphia, because as much of an easier schedule as most people think, Philly by far the easiest schedule to go against.
Oh, definitely.
And then like just like every single freaking year in the NFC East, it's going to go down to the last week about who's it going to be at the final stretch between them and the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, when it's those types of games, Dallas doesn't really show up. So, I mean, I don't know what the rest of the Cowboys schedule looks like.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying the Rams aren't going to be the 5th seed, but it's interesting. Their next 4 games are the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Vikings, the Ravens, and the 49ers. So yeah, that's kind of, and they're at 8-4, so they could easily lose 2 more, 3 more games if they're not careful and don't play to their ability. Because the Vikings are trying to play for something. The Seahawks, I mean, I guess they're playing for pride, and the Cardinals are still trying to win. So
that would be crazy.
Yeah, so maybe.
Also says, did you know the 49ers ownership have many investment in Leeds United Soccer Club? Oh, did not know that.
Really?
Which team does OBJ play for nowadays? He's on the Rams, so you get to see him as your last matchup.
Wild card is gonna be interesting this year.
Oh, definitely. Wall Smith, how's it going? Just remember that. Geez, I keep pointing the wrong way. Daivon exists too.
Who's that box next to you?
Yeah, I'm talking to the actual Falcons logo, everybody. But no. All right, I think we got a good people. I think we got a good amount of people here. Any last thoughts about this Panthers game for you?
No, just I'm interested to see if Kyle Pitts can start to pick it back up. I know Matt Ryan. I'm not saying he lost trust in him, but I see, after watching that Kurt Warner thing, even the last play of the game, Kyle Pitts was wide open and he really wasn't even looking at him. So I'm hoping that Matt can start to trust him again.
Yeah, I think given all the games that he's seen so far, he just kind of has to internally already assume that he's going to be double and triple covered,
Yeah.
But it's weird because maybe it's just because of the coaching, but even when Julio was a rookie, he would still throw to him in triple coverage.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think they're trying to tone down his gunslinger risks, if you will.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because, I remember a couple of plays, like I said, back when Julio was a rookie, he would still trust him in those one-on-one matches in order to build those chemistry. And although that Julio was a far better route runner, I will say that much. He knew how to get separation a lot better. But there's also the chance it's hey, you can still, if you don't trust Kyle Pitts, don't let it be because you don't think he can be open. Let it be because that you don't trust him to catch the pass. Let it be his fault instead of yours.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, we've also seen him drop 10 passes too. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ignore that. But I think sometimes he just doesn't. He's sometimes not ready for the ball yet too.
Yeah.
I think after a while, when you haven't caught the pass yet, then you finally get your first chance in like the second quarter, it'll be easier to drop those passes than if you were like a little bit properly built up, got the easier catches out of the way first, kind of build up your own little confidence in the game.
Yeah.
Like that's a possibility. But
I think that'll come as time goes, hopefully.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to cover Kyle Pitts this week? Because I know that Stephon Gilmore volunteered last time.
They said maybe Jeremy Chin, right? His name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were saying stuff about him maybe and Gilmore, since Russell Gage is picking up, trying to guard him because that seems to be Matt's favorite target now. Like,
wow.
It seems like it's going to be a Zacchaeus day or,
I mean, Hurst is back. Allison's back.
Is. Okay, great. We need somebody else.
Just someone that's actually tall enough in order to ride an amusement ride for once. That'd be great.
Exactly.
I because it's weird about Russell Gage, especially like getting attention from Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if they were watching tape on like how he was getting. I mean, not open against the Bucks, but he definitely was catching, converting third down conversions and making big catches when they needed them. But I'm hoping they don't shut him down and then double Pitts, and then we have to, rely on Zacchaeus or Sharp.
Well, at least our ground game still works, though.
Yes. So if we can have like a maybe 150, almost 200-yard game, just dominate on the ground.
Kind of like what they did against us. Give them a taste of their own medicine.
Exactly. That would be a perfect thing because then we would show we can run the ball finally, consistently.
And as much as I feel afraid to say a lot of stuff just because of like, hey, if this is going to be the year to like instantly be proven wrong, it's going to be this year, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry in advance, but I feel like the Panthers offense isn't capable of playing with a deficit.
Yeah.
I think if we get just some sort of a lead against them,
maybe even a 10-point lead would be good.
And I know that it's us saying that. But it is okay. Because like I said, think back to these examples that we've seen from this season alone. We've changed that narrative just slightly.
Just a little bit.
At least it's on its way to changing, without the possible runs. Hang on for just a second. I don't know if I can hear that.
Yeah, the only thing that I've noticed that we haven't done yet specifically is maintain a lead, but maintain the lead, by 14 points. If we're up, let's say we were up big against, I think, Washington by 10, automatically they have a kickoff return for a touchdown, and it's close the whole time. So hopefully we can get a 10-point lead and maintain it until at least the fourth quarter, then add on to the lead. That's what we've yet to do.
There we go. Yeah. Wall Smith made a prediction. So the 7th seed is going to be a team under 500. Not again.
Yeah, very possible.
Michael Walker says, seems like this year's MVP is going to be by default. Nobody's been dominant this year. Big Henry before injury. That's about it. Yeah. Maybe. And I see maybe Jonathan Taylor can snatch that from Brady.
Yeah, I was saying Jonathan Taylor. If the Colts make the playoffs on his back, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor. It should be. But Brady, the way he
stats. Or hopefully Kyler Murray too.
Yes.
He's still kind of in the run.
Yes.
But Space Fair, yeah. Tony Wright's here. How's it going? Shares the same sentiment. It's unfortunately going to be a lot closer than we expect.
Yeah.
But yeah, if the Colts make it, that's a big if because on the AFC side of things,
the AFC is loaded.
They have the opposite problem.
They're
They
literally
have too many teams in contention.
too
The
many.
NFC doesn't have enough.
Mm-hmm. Right now, the
So,
Colts are the 8th seed, but their schedule is the Patriots. That's a hard game. Cardinals, Raiders, and Jags. So, yeah, that's gonna be tough.
yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah,
I mean, like the Broncos and stuff, like they're still in contention.
yeah.
Like certain teams that you wouldn't expect would still be in the race, just ever so slightly.
See,
And
and I know this is crazy, but isn't there like I read somewhere that the Lions are still in contention in the NFC? That's how bad it is.
yeah, the Texans got eliminated first, and they actually won something.
That's insane.
So he's saying that Kyler missed games though, and they won without him. But yeah, Colt McCoy was fine.
Yeah,
It was more so that run game though that they had against the 49ers, I want to say.
yeah. Connor.
And then like even someone like Benjamin or whatever. But
Yeah,
it says the Panthers have a way better defense than our Falcons defense. I don't know about way better, but
they definitely have better pass rushers.
yeah. But that's nothing new to our offensive line at this point. So as long as I see some growth and communication there, I think they'll be more stable.
Do you think they're going to keep rotating centers, seeing that it's causing problems with the snaps?
Well, it's not just that, but it's also false starts penalties for other players like Jake Matthews.
Yeah.
I understand with him because, of how long that he's had like Alex Mack, and now he's got to go back and forth with the timing of everyone on the line. And then he's also more used to Matt's cadence too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not Hennessy, but Ryan. Yeah, I can see how that kind of confuses him in 2 games, or like 2 plays. But yeah, I don't think this is sustainable.
No.
They're going to have to make a decision. It's nice to know that they trust Drew Dahlman enough as a rookie in order to be on par with Matt Hennessy already.
Yeah, that's a big.
But when the offensive line as a whole is at its best, I've seen it like in the run game, they rely on the center being the first one go into the second level in order to try to block an offensive line or linebacker instead of someone on the D line.
Yeah.
So they're still trying to compensate for what they aren't good at yet, which is fine for now. But if you want to get really good in the trenches, that's going to have to stop.
Has to.
So, yeah, just like Wallace says, it's all going to determine how our offensive line holds up if we're able to win tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say still same on the other side too, but they still play a factor as well. Even though I want Cam to throw, because I think that's when we're at our biggest advantage. We still got to definitely do our part on the line as well. Just making sure that everyone has their assignment and that they don't abandon it prematurely.
Yes.
I've seen more examples where they've overcorrected one other's mistakes.
Yeah.
So
you do not want to leave Roby Anderson or DJ Moore open. They will take it to the house.
Yeah, I also need to see more from Dean Pease making sure that he puts AJ Terrell in a good spot to perform in his defense.
Yes, definitely.
I hate seeing AJ Terrell constantly cover like the backup tight end or like the third string receiver, and then all of a sudden they keep Chris Godwin wide open or they keep Gronk wide open, and it's like, dude, shouldn't that be the focal point? I don't care if it reveals your defense. Cam Newton's not that type of player.
He's not. Put
So
your best coverage on their best receiver. Take away their weapon.
Don't make it so much about schemes every single time.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're going up against a rookie offensive coordinator who's having his first game right now as a de facto one or interim, they can't instantly be on par with Dean Pease. I don't think
Exactly.
he's going to have to do too much. So it's like it's those kind of mistakes where it's like, yeah, you're overthinking here.
Yeah.
You're trying to do too much about your own job. You're worrying about yourself, about what your opponent can do. Just do what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're good at is having AJ Terrell be on their best guy. If that dictates the coverage for them, guess what? See if they can stop it first before you change.
Exactly.
If they can't stop it, why should you compensate for them?
Mm-hmm. And AJ
I think
Terrell's
back
such a
to
great
I think
player.
yeah, and it's useless that he's being wasted on the third target on the progression for the quarterback.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I think back to that Ravens and Dolphins game. The Dolphins defense just did the same play over and over again. Then they forced Lamar Jackson to try to stop it. He couldn't.
He couldn't.
So it's like it wasn't just a matter about the scheme because they never did that again.
Nope.
They didn't have to overthink. They're just like, hey, let's run this, and if it works, all right, we'll keep doing it until they stop it. If it doesn't work, then we'll change it up.
Mm-hmm.
But they're trying to be this type of team where it's like, hey, it worked once. It's never doing it again.
Yeah.
Because we gotta hold it back.
That whole leave AJ Terrell on one side of the field, and we don't have the defense for that right now. You know, we need a better, cornerback too. And if we draft one that is, on AJ Terrell's level, we could definitely pull that off. But like you said, Dean Pease needs to learn how to adapt each game.
I still think he's fantastic for us. Don't get me wrong.
Definitely.
But he's not without his own flaws too.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're human, you're gonna have a flaw about you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Wallace Smith was right. Our defense definitely does enough to keep us in games, and it seems when our defense does good, the offense doesn't. When the offense does good, the defense doesn't. We just need to play a complete game.
Yeah, I mean, like Dean Pease, like he doesn't care about allowing yards so long as he doesn't allow the score.
Yeah,
he said that multiple times in his press conferences.
Yep.
And then among a bunch of other things that he said, like I like his philosophies, but most of this roster that you're working with right now is not going to stay. It better not, at least.
Yeah, let's hope not. So
you're trying to build a foundation of a philosophy for half of the roster that's probably not going to be back, and the other half is suffering because you're putting him in a wrong role.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, it would be the role that you would put them in a perfect defense, which you don't have. So for right now, put them in a spot where they can at least best succeed.
Yeah. This definitely isn't the Ravens defense like he's trying to make it, but
Daivon Johnson brings up Jerry Glanville's old grid splits every down because what he's doing now is not working. I don't care if our corner's trash and run the ball. I don't care if our running back's not going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just stick to what works for you and make them stop it. Don't stop yourself.
Yeah.
So I think those are our thoughts over there. We spent a good amount of time on that. And now, since we have some of you guys here still with us, let's talk about spitballing some statements out there.
Yeah.
And trying to see what are we thinking about as far as what we can agree and what we can disagree on as a whole.
Yeah.
So Daivon, what's the first thing that you want to spitball?
So the first statement I hear a lot from Falcons fans and media is that Matt Ryan is washed.
All right, guys. So what we're doing right now is some audience participation. Just write down, hey, agree, disagree, in the middle. Try to give some explanation as to why you think that, though. I don't want these simple answers because I want some context along with it.
Mm-hmm.
The better you can convince yourself about your answer here, the better it's for your own good.
No, that video you sent me on Kurt Warner breaking down his throws, it didn't make me think, that he was washed, but I didn't know. Well, I knew Matt Ryan locked on one read a lot, but what it made me realize is that he's a very coach like oriented quarterback. You know what I mean? Like he
He's
doesn't
coachable.
do stuff. Yeah, but sometimes too coachable, Sometimes he doesn't change the reads or, does things on the fly like he should, more often than not, you know.
Yeah. There's probably plenty of plays that you can bring up about that. Maybe a certain Super Bowl play. I think that what can happen with that though is if you do exactly what your coach tells you to, you've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
At least in his eyes. So if you if they call a run play, when you as a quarterback, as a veteran quarterback, know, dude, this is not good enough it's not good enough to run the ball here. Maybe you should think about passing it. If you stick with their game plan, you let them take the blame for it.
Yeah.
That's eventually what certain people did. If you go rogue on the last second and now that play doesn't work,
You have to
and
take
now we have no reason to blame anyone else other than you.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to protect himself from that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's just sometimes I wish he would take not accountability, but just take the play and use your experience to make it work, because like sometimes I say that he sees a blitz coming, make a hot read, because the play that you have that you're going to run takes way too much time and you're going to take a sack. I know you can't always predict that, but there's a lot of times we could.
Yeah, like there shouldn't be a defense that Matt Ryan's never seen before.
Yeah.
At 14 years, I mean, come on.
You're not.
So, I mean, you take someone, you give someone 14 years of any job, any position, they're gonna know a lot about it. And what a lot of people say, this is the hardest position in all of sports. Having that veteran knowledge should be put to your advantage. Now, if that's only used during the week when setting up the game plan, instead of like pre and post snap, can that be fixed? Should that be fixed? So, in the meantime, let's see what other people have to say on that. All right, so King Till, he'll disagree. I want to see if he made a statement on why he thinks that, though. Daivon Johnson, disagree because wide receivers trash instead of trash. All right, well, Bridget Kelsey, she says, disagree. He needs a better O-line and receiving core, and he will be okay. Imagine if you get hit so many times, he doesn't trust that line. I could play a factor in what? Yeah. Windjammer, he also disagrees. Marcus Jones says in the middle because the O-line is trash, but with time, he's all pro. I can see that. Jeremy says we do need some help in the receiving core, and WWE or we can also say that the offensive line isn't the best either. So as long as you keep them on pace and on schedule with the play. Okay. Daivon says someone who's coaching Matt Ryan needs to give Matt the playbook and tell him, hey, do what you do, because Matt don't want control of the offense. That's his only problem. His first 2 years, Matt controls the offense. That was still kind of under Malarkey more so. And even if you take in consideration how much he controlled about the offense, that was still a run-first based offense too. Because remember, Michael Turner was led the NFL or NFC probably not NFC because Adrian Peterson, but he was like
All right,
top 3 in
he was
rushing.
up there. Yeah.
So CK22, he says he disagrees. We all know what Matt can do with time in the pocket. He hasn't had that consistently this year. When he has it, just seems like our wide receivers aren't on the same page. I can kind of see that with some of his interceptions too. I remember back in the Patriots game, that corner route to Kyle Pitts, it seemed like a vast overthrow, but then you look back at the film, Kyle Pitts couldn't separate,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just like lost the ball in the air because he couldn't run fast in order to get there.
Yeah.
So, I disagree because our offensive line has never been this bad, and we don't want to have a true number 1 or number 2 receivers that teams respect. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Here's one that I'll throw out there. It's raise the difficulty, if you will.
Okay.
I'm going to put this up here before I say what it is. All right. It looks like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So let me try to read it out to you. I'm going to get closer just a wee bit.
Okay.
And so if you don't know what this is, where you can find it is that Kurt Warner video that I sent him. If you haven't watched it yet, well, tune in as I read what the description will say. Some people probably didn't read this, and he's not going to really mention it in the video. So, all right. As he went along with making that video, he had this to say underneath it. He says, "I never said Matt Ryan's not a really good quarterback. The problem is that I have, and what's confusing is that I think he is a really good quarterback. He shows me that at times in games to me when I talk about it. Yes, the Atlanta offensive line has issues. Yes, they have receiver issues on the outside. Understood. I'm simply looking at it from a quarterback perspective, because to me, what? So someone that wants to join us, I can't really see you. There we go.
Hey.
I was trying to read that too with you.
Yeah. I was because to me, playing a quarterback is always about getting your eyes in the right spot. That's something that can bail you out from bad protection. Know where you're looking and get the ball out of your hands quickly. That can help you with guys on the line outside, or that can help you with the guys on the outside that aren't necessarily great receivers, by getting the ball out on time and knowing where you're going with the football, especially against zone coverage where you have a good play. You can attack that zone coverage by being on time and thinking and being in the right place, and that's simply what I'm talking about. I want to have every quarterback do well, and to me, it all starts with knowing what you're looking at and where your eye should be on a particular play. So I'm going to go through last week's Atlanta Falcons game, and I'm going to show you some of the great stuff that Ryan does, because I see it on a weekly basis, and I've seen it for years. That's why I'm so dumbfounded at times, wondering why he's going certain places, because it doesn't make sense in my mind. As I always say, hang on, this is where I get to, well, we're going to take this off for a second. He says, had some time dumbfounded at times, wondering why he's going to certain places. As I always say, I don't know what he's being taught. I don't know what they tell them on a particular play, what to read and how to read a particular play. I simply think through what I would do on a particular play, and that's what confuses me. So now that I had read all of that, let's get this back up on here.
You're going to have to summarize it for me. That's a long message.
All right, so basically, he sees good stuff from Matt Ryan still. But because of how he holds Matt Ryan up to a good standard, he's confused as to why he has trouble reading the field in certain plays. So in that video, he kind of showed all the plays where he kind of felt like that for him. Problem with that, though, is that he's got hindsight and he's got a very convenient angle for him when he's doing all this stuff. And that's not necessarily what he sees on the field. So when you summarize it all up, Kurt Warner still thinks he's a really good quarterback. And that's what everyone seems to forget because of how the video was laid out. You know, he says at the very beginning, he's like, hey, I still think Matt Ryan's great. So let me show you all the plays that he's did. So let me show you all the bad plays. What?
My thing is, though,
and then he tries to wrap it up. And like,
he tried to clean it up, though. It was like, maybe if he would have started that originally, when he first made the original comment and had that video, it was like after everybody gave him some backlash, and it's like, okay, let me go into my videos and say why he's great or why he's at least decent. It should have been the start of that conversation versus everybody giving him backlash. And then it's like, well, I'm not saying he's not because it read wrong. And you know how text gets miscommunicated. Like text, you can get it misconfused with whatever you're saying. You could be not even angry. Somebody say you're yelling at me, you're upset. It just it's a miscommunication there. So
we almost miscommunicated about the time that this stream would have started.
Yeah. So it's
so but here's my thing though. It's like here's my statement. Kurt Warner's intention with the video was positive. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Agree.
I mean, I don't disagree with what he said about Matt Ryan. It was just delivery, like kind of what I said previous on another show. It was the delivery of the original message that was just kind of like, sound like you're trying to bash him. You didn't really say that he was a good quarterback. You have good intentions about him. It was just, I can't believe this, and how he reads this and that. Then you follow it up with a nice little video that you took some time with, because now you're trying to show that you're not trying to criticize him. I mean, well, bash him, if you will. So I get the message, but you got to watch what you say on social media, everybody. Even if you are a football player, everybody going to just dissect everything you have to say.
Yeah. So, Daivon agrees, Maggie agrees. What about everyone else that's paying attention? As Bridget Kelsey, she says he could have gave him constructive criticism, so she disagrees. She thinks that it was kind of meant to in a negative intentions.
And that's the way it looked to a lot of people, honestly. It did. I mean, to be honest, it did look like it wasn't constructive criticism at first.
That's why I'm still kind of on the fence. At the very end of the video, he says, and that's my argument. Instead of saying, okay, well, this is just my opinion. This is what he sees. And this is my film breakdown of what is going on. Another thing is he didn't show multiple games. He only showed the one game where we lost. If he showed certain things, because at the very beginning, the reason as to why this all spread up is because, wait, why is it frustrating to me that it's happening every week?
Yeah. As we say.
So why'd you only show 1 week?
1 week.
Gotcha. That doesn't prop up your initial statement.
Because it was on the fly. It was something like, let me hurry up because now I'm getting a lot of backlash. People calling me out as who I am as a player, in credit to Matt Ryan. Let me do something real quick so they can shut up. I think that's really, let's be real. I think that's really what it came down to.
Yeah.
You put something together real quick. I don't have time to look for about 3 or 4 games.
And it's because of that where I don't know where his true intentions lie with it. Because he should have taken the time in order to give a proper sample size. If he's confused as to why it happens every week, show a play from every week. Show a good and a bad. Because you said at the very beginning, like the first couple of minutes, he's like, hey, here's everything that Ryan does good. But no one cared about that. Because you had like 20 minutes after that where you just like criticize his moves and what he sees.
Yeah.
If it was just a little bit more balanced out, or if he didn't have to go through every single play, because most of us, like even when I do the film breakdowns on our website, it's hard for me to go through every single play. I still see every single play. I'm still frustrated by certain plays, but I can still try to condense it down to a certain theme that I'm trying to put that there. Like in the offensive line website or in the offensive line article, I gave you 15 plays. I didn't give you every single one.
Oh, that would take all day.
Exactly. And even the 15 plays that I had, that still took a while. Because I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm trying to map it out. I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what are you seeing as a left tackle? What are you seeing as a left guard? What are you seeing as a center? So on and so forth. And when you don't know the information, just like you said, at the very bottom of that, and at the very end, it's like, I don't know how he's being coached. I don't know what he's being told to look at. If he's doing his job, then there's really nothing you can really criticize him on that for. And if that's his only weakness, every quarterback struggles with that. Kurt himself was no exception.
That's what I'm saying. Kurt, we're talking about Kurt here.
Yeah.
So
that's what's frustrating about it. It's like, okay, dude, you got to wipe your own, front lawn or whatever they say, sweep your own porch before you can criticize someone else as well. But it's nothing wrong with the criticism if you're doing it right, though. If you're saying it right,
From the beginning.
Yeah, King Kill had this to say. They said the tweet was negative, the video was positive, but with anything negative about his haters will use it as fuel.
They will.
But Prove It was thinking about, hey, if you use it as constructive criticism, that's okay. But let me take another Kurt Warner example. I didn't really provide the picture for it, but a couple of days ago, he also made a video about one Baker Mayfield.
I didn't see that one.
So, and his spin on that opinion about Baker Mayfield's performance is that, hey, that 16-10 loss that he had against the Ravens wasn't his fault. At the very end of that, in the description, he said, oh, hey, just this little things is what caused them to lose the game. And then he's like completely bypassed the fumble and be like, yeah, I get it. Everyone has that happen to him. The fact that you had four interceptions from Lamar Jackson, something that's very rare that you're not going to get every single day, and you only get 3 points out of that. Not his fault, though. Don't worry about it, guys. I trust Baker Mayfield to know to get the right stuff. But Matt Ryan, oh my God, did you see all these plays?
Against the Bucs at that. It's not like it was the Jags.
Now, see, someone got the message miscommunicated. They got it misunderstood. Once again, Shane Elliott. If you caught the end of it, or maybe you did, but we never said that he couldn't critique.
Yep.
Didn't
he can
say
give
that.
any opinion he wants.
Exactly. He can.
But there's a difference
how
between,
you do it.
Yeah.
And it's also a matter about, okay, well, how much of what he says do you take to heart? At the end of the day, you're still responsible for formulating your own opinion. All right, you can't just ride onto the back of someone else's. You're not gonna do well when it comes to any other type of conversation about that topic. So I get that he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I get that he's got credentials. A lot of people want to talk about all the bad things that has happened to him. Getting benched by multiple teams, being winless in 2002, having Mark Bulger usurp him in fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives. The fact that Pro Football Reference would like to compare his career to Rich Gannon and Jeff Garcia, whereas they want to compare Matt Ryan's career to a Joe Montana and Aaron Rodgers. That's just the analytics on the computer. That's not mine. I wouldn't have done that personally. But just based off the raw numbers, those are where those careers lie against. I can also say this about him. Every single season where he's played all 16 games, there's only been 3 of them, he went to the Super Bowl in every single one of them. So it's like, I understand all that. But you still have to make your own opinion as a fan. You still have to do your own eye test and build your own knowledge. Because taking everything for what they say just because of who they are, it can backfire on you. when later on you reveal that, oh, hey, I was trusting everything that O.J. Simpson said until, a certain thing happened. I'm just saying, like, these credentials of the players, they might backfire because they can use that pedestal that they have as a former player against them.
Yeah.
And then you might not learn anything about it. So because they're trying to get the clicks, they're trying to become relevant again.
I know this is a controversial opinion, but when it's all said and done, in my opinion, I know Matt doesn't have a Super Bowl yet and Kurt does, but as far as stats, I think Matt Ryan's going to be a better quarterback. So for him to
he already is.
Yeah, I'd say it already is, but I'm trying to be on the nicer side for the people who don't agree.
He's got 170 more touchdowns than Kurt Warner.
Yeah, so for him to critique in that way, it's like you said, it came off bad. Now, if he would have said on these reads, I feel like he does this, but he also is great, then you could say that. And I'm gonna make a video later, showing you. But for him to just say, that, it's like you said, just the way you say things can come off, especially about
it's
Matt
hard
Ryan.
to convince me. It's hard to convince me that you're good when all you point out are the flaws.
Yeah.
And that's where everyone struggled to understand that.
And that's the same thing what you're saying right there. CK22 said, pretty much pretty sure how everybody is feeling about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He said if I'm a casual fan, I'm reading that tweet. There's nothing in there that tells me that Matt is great. We know he's great, but the media doesn't want people to know. Sounded like more fuel to the fire, in my opinion. And that's just the way it came off.
Yeah. And I think it's also interesting to note that the video, like Maggie said, like it felt rushed. And as much as he wanted to try to defend himself against this particular group, it wasn't even like the best performing video that he had in the week. Because he just released like a Taylor Heineke video and it has like twice as many views as Matt Ryan's video. That's Taylor Heineke.
That's crazy.
So, all right.
Exactly.
Let's see what everyone else is saying over there. Says, I don't care what Warner says, for real. He had good players around him in the Rams and Cardinals. That is true. Like I said, in those 3 years where he actually had every game to play, he had a lot of talent around him. As a matter of fact, most of those players were either future Hall of Famers or current Hall of Famers now. So, let's see. Yeah, like I said, but
pretty much what you just said.
Yeah. All right. So now that we know the example, Daivon, what was your other example to throw out there as a statement?
So my other example was the Falcons are going to make the playoffs. Agree, disagree, or maybe, and why?
That's a long sigh. I'm sorry, Al.
Yeah. Maggie, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts, as far as the product we have on the field right now, I feel like it's far less in between a good playoff run. Of course, we're trailing behind, in the South right about now. We got Tom Brady. I think we were one game away behind Tampa Bay. I think not Tampa Bay, 49ers. We can't go off the face of whatever happens to every other organization. The Falcons have to win a game, especially at home right about now. We can't even win at home at this point. So until we can get this O-line going right now, of course, I think Hayden Hurst is now activated to the roster once again. I think they just elevated Quadri Olison. They set down Wayne Gallman. He's cut now. maybe that will help a little bit with stretching the field and having Hayden Hurst get some tough catches, maybe. But honestly, we need offense to be on point, and we really need defense to just keep, their opponents off the field at this. Basically, we just need to. We gotta get tough. We gotta stop making these dumb mistakes at this point. And we just need to freaking win.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't feel as confident that we will have a strong run to the playoffs, but it's any given Sunday at this point. We'll see what happens Sunday and on forward. But I disagree that the Falcons will be making the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm on the fence still, leaning towards disagree. The reason as to why I think that, though, is because, well, to put it lightly, there's just too many other teams in contention that are really out of our control, even if we could win out. There are other teams that also have a good chance of winning out as well. So the teams that we think that aren't going to have any shot right now because of how they are as their record right now, they can go on a hot streak because they're easier schedule than us. It's not like I said, like, we are playing with a week-by-week mentality when it comes to how conservative we are with our confidence. That kind of thing, that's not going to fly with the playoffs.
No.
The fact that we're so iffy about every single game that we play, that's not going to hold us up well if we're actually in a game that matters a lot more. Now, what could this do, though, if we try our best, we don't make to the playoffs anyways, and now a lot of people were thinking, well, congratulations, you just played yourself out of a good spot in the draft.
I know.
Because that's the other thing, too. It's like, you can have all the wins that you want, and then you're still not going to please the people where you already proved them wrong by having one win. And here you are, you can rattle off a couple more. But now that's all they're going to have to say. But then the quick way to diffuse that is that it's not a very top-heavy draft this year. And every single year, there's always been those good guys that fell in between the mid-rounds and the 20s. Heck, that's where we got A.J. Terrell. So you can't tell me that we can't draft a guy that's still going to be crucial for us moving forward, no matter where we land. Like, that's not a concern to me. And even after that, we still have 2 picks in the second. We have multiple picks in the third. And Tony Wright can kind of finish you on the rest of them in the comments. So, with the compensatory picks, he told me last time that we have like 12 draft picks. I don't care about where we start off. I just care about how we finish the season and what we can look like moving forward as we put our best selves on the field. If that doesn't accumulate to wins, then we know that, hey, this team isn't good enough. And we've been saying that since before the season freaking started. At the same time, we've had a lot of other things go against us from the offseason moving forward. You know, we've had some crucial injuries in regards to, Matt Cano at left guard, Isaiah Oliver. Ridley dipped out because he needed to take care of himself. And now he's an ongoing question mark that we have. We've had a lot of question marks on our defensive line as regarding what the heck are they doing when all they get is single coverage. I think a lot of that was mentioned this morning. But, could we trot this team into the playoffs? Possibly. Does it hurt, like, the records of whatever? Because a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, you're just going to add another loss to Matt Ryan's playoff stats. I'm like, well, that's okay. He still has a better record than Warren Moon in the postseason. That didn't stop him from making the Hall of Fame. No, did it?
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying, like, at that point, you can have the confidence in your team. And now that we know what we look like on the road, hey, just give yourself a good chance in order to do something with what you have. Yeah. Can this team do that? Well, it's almost about a 50-50 shot so far. And now, if we were to win this game against the Panthers, it's a literal coin flip as to see like what kind of team that we would be.
Yeah. I mean, we've kept hearing Matt Ryan say we've yet to play our best football. It's just we're waiting to see that on both offense and defense, because it seems either, like I said, the defense will do good, the offense bad, offense good, defense bad. So hopefully these next 4 games we can see both. And like Maggie said, we got to take it one game at a time and win the game ahead of us, not focus on the future. So
Exactly.
Yeah, like most of our. Let me see if I can be accurate in this statement. I'm pretty sure if you take off Matt Ryan, Jake Matthews, and Cordell Patterson, there isn't anyone on the roster that on the offensive side that was here in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that's on our team right now on offense is from 2018 and later. These guys are very young, even in their depth. Oh, Lee Smith was another one. I knew I was forgetting someone else, but on the other side of things, you're also very young on defense. And the people that are here that are older, well, they're still new to being on the Falcons. Cordell Patterson and Lee Smith would have been one of them as well. Deron Harmon and Eric Harris, they're still question marks at the end of the season. I don't know if I want either of them, but we'll see how it goes as our roster moves forward. Fabian Moreau, he's another question mark, but he's also and somewhat of an experienced corner, because if you take him off, the oldest one that's been there is AJ Terrell. That's not good. Well, maybe Kendall Sheffield, but again, like these are the problems that we have with the roster. Not to mention, you're dealing with the situation in terms of money, where Matt Ryan's base salary this year is at $26.9 million. That's what he's earning as of right now. If you cut him, there's all other money being tied to that decision. But our dead cap money, these are for all the people that we're playing that don't play for us anymore. That number is also at $26.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of rounded both of them up. They're both pretty much the same. That's not good to try to trot that into the playoffs. And I know that we're not the only one that has that kind of big dead cap, because I know that other teams like the Colts and whatever, like because of their Carson Wentz contract, like other teams are worse than us about that.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also established the roster in order to compensate for that already. They don't have to worry about paying certain X, Y, and Z players in order to keep the roster intact. That's what our problem is. Can that be fixed in 1 year? No. Can this be fixed in one draft class? No. Can we be fixed in that in one free agency period? No. But what can we take priority over right now? Training the guys that we have. That's the only thing you can do. Everyone's young. Everyone's cheap right now. That's all you have to do. And I believe that we have the coaches to do that. I wouldn't trust Dan Quinn to train our offense.
No.
But you got to think about it,
Dirk Cutter or whatever.
You got to think about it as well. As far as the players on the field, these are not even their guys. I mean, DPs, that defense is, this is, it's what they got to work with at this point. But I can tell you now, these are definitely not the guys that they, of course, it probably was sold with Matt Ryan and the Julio Jones combination when they came over here. That's what they was expecting. And then, of course, they was probably going to build around that situation and kind of work with that, because it's really not much we can do with Matt Ryan and his contract situation until the next 2 years at this point. And they probably going to do something else with his contract this year, to be real, because
even big supporters like me are just like, we're just going to have to survive with this contract for right now.
We're going to have to survive with this contract and just let it play itself out at this point. Now, depending on how it goes for the remainder of the season, which I'm not too optimistic about our chances of what's going to happen in the draft and everything else, I guarantee they're going to be a lot more cutthroat when it comes to the off season and getting a little bit more of their guys in, even if it's from the free agency or whatever they're going to decide to do. But you're going to see a lot more, surprising cuts coming up soon. I guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we've established that, Megan, do you have a statement you want to throw at us?
We already got the playoffs. Matt Ryan situation. Do you feel at this point, can we get into, maybe since we're talking playoffs and what if we don't do too well, could we get into draft? Possibly. Just a little potential.
Okay.
Do you think that the Falcons should go towards defense in the first round or so, or what do you guys think that we should target in this next draft coming up as far as the needs that we need for the team?
Here's where we can say the agree to disagree. Try to select Jordan Davis in the first round. Agree or disagree?
Disagree. The only reason why I say that is because of we what's his name? Rush. If he proves to be, like, let's see how it finished out the season, but if Rush is really good, I think he's only 25, 26, we could use him and then we can go somewhere else, as in the first round, such as O-line or something. And if we're going to be picking, let's say 14, I think that's still a little too high, especially if he has another game like he did against Alabama. Yeah. And he was, people say he was injured, but if he wasn't, it was a conditioning problem.
Well, Maggie, you were kind of surprised with that answer, so were you going to say agree? I just heard that.
I'm letting him speak. Of course, that's not my opinion, but of course, I would love to go, with him in the first round, or if he's whatever happens the rest of the season, and where he lands at, because of course, we got to figure out what we gonna be in the draft at this point.
Yeah,
right. But we also got to remember the free agency comes first before the draft. By that time, by the end of that period, we could have a completely different list of needs.
Yeah.
Because I've mentioned this before. It's like, if we don't re-sign anyone in that outside linebacker spot, we only have Ogundeji. That's it. That's who's there at that outside linebacker spot. Like, okay, that's bad. The position that Jordan Davis plays was be nose tackle. Mike Pennell and Anthony Rush, they're not projected to be back next year if we don't re-sign them. That's not good either, considering all of our problems have been lack of weight in that line in order to push any sort of pile or move any sort of man. So our edge rush class, what has that been looking like recently? Well, yeah, that's a major concern too. So Dante Fowler's not expecting to be back, and that's who they were expecting to be like, hey, let's revitalize his career, let's make a resurgence there. It's been a very hit and miss season for him. Offensively, we've said all the numbers about Matt Ryan, about his protection, getting hit 92 times in the season. Like at least 10 more than the guy that's in second place. He's top 10 in sacks allowed, along with like Baker Mayfield and whatever. By the way, who's number one on that list? Lamar Jackson. By far the most sacked quarterback this season. Pretty close to him is Kyler Murray. Having mobile quarterbacks does not just eliminate the sack problem. There's more to it, guys. But yeah, when the wide receiver group, the only person that's expected to be back is Frank Darby. That's it. The only person that's expected to be back in the running back room is probably just Keith Smith. Maybe Mike Davis. And I don't know if they want to keep him here.
Mike Davis on.
Okay, like we say that, but he's the only guy that's listed as a running back that can play for us next year that we know of.
That's true.
Right? We have so many different needs, but at the same time, we also have to look at the draft class itself. Because as much as I wanted to say, well, hey, let's probably fix the wide receiver spot there first. But if there's no top wide receivers in the draft class, we would be reaching at that position even if it is a need. So, which is why I kind of like Terry Fontenot being here, going with the best player available.
Yeah.
Go in that strategy. You know, like,
You know
hey,
what?
if
And
it's
I like
a tiebreaker,
I like the
go
way Terry
with-
thinks.
go with the better talent. Go with the guy with the upside instead of trying to fill up, trying to plug holes in the ship. Try to get a better ship. No?
Yeah.
So you might be fine with just Darby, but he himself is a question mark.
Yeah, they haven't put him on the field.
Like the fact that they put Tajay Sharp on the field. Tajay Sharp. Is there a single highlight that you remember of him?
No.
This season? He just exists. That's all I can say about him this year. I don't remember him having any catches that was notable, putting us in like crucial third down positions. I know there's probably a few, but that's not taking my memory of him, which is him on that 3rd and goal in the second preseason game where Felipe Franks just like threw them the ball and it slipped through his hand. Like he hasn't taken that memory away from him so far.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he's still on the field doing, I don't know at this point. Just filling up that fifth option as an offensive weapon. Christian Blake, he's like a purely special team guy. Russell Gage, he's fine at times. He's like the only one that we had that can probably get some sort of separation. I don't trust him after the catch, though.
And what is up with us rotating centers as well?
Yeah, that.
You don't notice that?
We already talked about that as well. So it's like
It's
a bunch of question marks so far with our roster. The fact that we're even trying to talk about the playoffs is just a testament to how bad this NFC division or conference has been so far.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that we can still stick around.
Yeah.
And, winning this game and having certain other teams lose, it's like that'll push us even closer. Because, yeah, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings team, they've had 9 of their 12 games be decided by the final play. They're 3-6 in those games. And I don't know if I've ever seen them above or even at 500 this season. Mm-hmm. They're just a 1 game away from 500 purgatory this season. That's all they've been. So it's like, do I fear them? I don't know, but they might do a trap game against another team. They might lose against the next game.
See, it was insane because I was looking at the schedule. That's the only reason why, I say we have a chance, but like Maggie said, we have to win. I could see a team losing 9 games going, and that's just because looking at everybody's schedule above us, like Philly, Minnesota, San Francisco, and Washington, they pretty much Washington and Philly are playing each other twice. Then they're playing the Cowboys. And San Francisco, we read their schedules pretty hard, and then Minnesota's schedule's pretty hard. So, and we play Carolina. So pretty much the Falcons control their own destiny between, beating the Bills and actually the 49ers. So those are going to be really tough games. But like you said, we have to focus on the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this conference
and
is bad.
Winning at home.
Yes, we need to win a game at home, and don't take a whole year to do so.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah, those are the meme pages. I don't know why they get certain stats to compare them up with each other. Like the last one that I saw was like, oh, hey, Lamar Jackson against the Browns. He's got 3 90+ yard rushing games. Every Browns quarterback ever, they've only amounted to 3 total. Like, dude, that's not their position.
Exactly.
What is that stat?
They find crazy stats.
And then they just plug them in, and they're just like, oh, Lamar just built different. Really? That's the take you want to say. All right.
I was gonna say this news just came out. I know it doesn't have to do with the Falcons, but what do you guys think of Bryce Young winning the Heisman?
Is that
the Alabama quarterback?
Yeah, Bryce Young, the freshman, I think.
Yeah. I kind of expected that to happen, you know.
Yeah.
But
after we did the Georgia too, everybody sees that.
You know, so that wasn't a surprise there. But does it mean anything for the NFL? I mean, the track record of quarterbacks from Alabama, hit and miss.
Yeah, it is.
Could be worse. Could be Ohio State.
Oh.
I am not invested in college football like that. I just watch it just to like try to scout talent. I'm not invested in any one particular team. So that's where I kind of line. Like, it's one of those situations where, just like the NFL, I just love the sport more than I loved any particular team at that point. So, hey, just give me a good GPS to use, and I can go from there. As like, hey, who can elevate themselves into the NFL? At least that's what I'll try to do, at least in this offseason. But they're saying like Young deserves the award. That's true. Wasn't he a freshman though?
Yeah,
or he's a
I got it wrong. He's a sophomore. CJ Stroud's the freshman.
So it's like they're still gonna have. I don't know if he's gonna try to use this opportunity to declare for the draft now. I don't really think they should.
Yeah, I think if Young goes to if he declares the draft, he'll probably be like a top 5 pick. I know they were talking about Malik Willis being in the first round, but definitely not top 5.
That's fine. But if you guys watch the this morning show and everything that was going on there, Magnus was on a tear. So I was listening to that while I was at work. I was like, my gosh.
Magnus was on it this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, they mentioned Mel Kiper, just like bringing up a bunch of unknown, like controversial quarterbacks, bringing them up into bringing them up into the conversation to be a top 5 pick. You do that, and that's fine. You get them their money. I don't have any problem with that. What I have with that, though, is moving forward, you left them half-baked.
Yeah.
You took them out of the oven too fast. And depending on what type of oven that is it like a pro-style offense? Is it a more college-y offense? I don't know. Alabama fans would have to testify, or at least, whoever watches him would have to answer that for me. But yeah, that mostly translates to what type of oven they come out of.
Yeah, and like Mac Jones, he went to the perfect situation that can use him perfectly. Because I think if he went to another team, I don't know if he'll be successful as he is right now.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to quarterbacks. When you draft them, it's all about position. Not talking about like, oh, hey, well, let's get them in the first pick. No. Where you're putting them at in position to your own team, where your roster is.
What your weapons are.
Yeah.
Everything.
What your protection is. Who the heck your coach is. Because I feel genuinely bad for Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
I do.
Trevor has been going through.
But the media doesn't see that. They only see, hey, look what happened in the last 12 starts.
It's
when
the
you
big
compare
hype
him to
of the
Gardner
quarterback.
Minshew.
It's this big hype about these quarterbacks that I get tired of. It's like they haven't played any type of anything in the NFL, but you already, college, just like Triple G said. I don't go off the quarterback hype. I'm sorry, because like you said, it's depending on where they're going, if it's going to be a good fit for them. You know, and you don't know like what the situation is. They could have their starting quarterback there, of course, and this quarterback is like, yeah, I'm going to come in here and take over the job. But guess what? You on the bench because you ain't quite learned the plays yet. You're still a rookie, and it just is what it is. So it's like I don't go off big quarterback hypes. You know, that's just me.
Yeah,
you can find a good quarterback in the later rounds.
Yeah. I mean.
A lot of them prove themselves in later rounds.
Dak Prescott,
Russell Wilson.
It was mostly about, where they ended up in terms of the team that got them. This might be controversial, but maybe even guys like Gardner mentioned themselves, or Jalen Hurts, who he ended up taking over for. You know, he was a second rounder because they didn't think that he was going to be properly built in order to play the quarterback position yet. Turns out, hey, you left them as the backup long enough, let them learn before you throw them out in the fire. Hey, they can have an efficient game here and there.
Yeah, somebody that
the reason as to why they're having those efficient games, it's not because of they're actually learning how to read a bunch of defenses and all that kind of stuff, and they're learning how to grow. No, they conform the offense back to what they were used to in college.
Yeah.
And the college schemes and the college coaches and all that kind of stuff, they don't fully translate.
No.
They don't fully translate. And if they do, they get quickly learned and it's not sustainable.
Yeah. One of the most hyped quarterbacks of all time was Johnny Manziel. You saw what happened to him when he went to the Browns.
Again, barely spent, 1 or 2 years in Texas A&M?
Yeah.
He was half-baked. But
RG3.
off the field,
RG3,
yeah. You know, Johnny Manziel was fully baked off the field, though.
Oh, yeah, he was off the field, too.
That's, he's about as baked as Ezekiel Elliott when he goes on live streams. Benny Wright said, we'll look for the Pittsburgh Steelers to make a big splash to trade up in the draft and take a quarterback in the first round. I do like the idea of certain teams that we wouldn't expect go up in the first round. And what that does is that it pushes back where other talent and other positions fall back to. So no matter where we end up, there's going to be desperate teams that jump up into the first couple of picks anyways and pushes everyone back. Because if it was just based on the talent itself, a lot of those other positions would be drafted up higher. But no, they want to go desperate, and they never seem to learn the lesson as to why we have more draft busts in this era. They don't. It's just tough because when you see these good quarterbacks, and then you throw them into the bad positions, and then you blame them for it.
Yeah,
it doesn't do well because those teams don't learn their lesson because the media doesn't blame them.
No, they don't. It's really GMs trying to save their jobs often.
Let's see. Let's get one from the chat. Let's see if we can get a statement from one of y'all so we can talk about.
Yeah, another agree or disagree. Let's see. So basically, if anybody's late to the show, if you want to put out a statement as far as the Falcons franchise, you agree or disagree with any situation they already went through. If we're going to make the playoffs, what was the one before that one?
About Kurt Warner and Matt Ryan before that.
So what else do you agree or disagree about? Oh, there's one from Stone Decatur.
Okay, agree or disagree? The Falcons need to be one of those desperate teams, throw themselves into the fire. Apparently none of us learn a lesson, and we draft a quarterback high for this season. Agree or disagree, folks?
I disagree with the high draft quarterback.
Yeah, high. Yeah.
Now, I agree with that we do need a quarterback eventually. We got to start having that conversation because we are dead set of nothing as far as the backup quarterbacks on this team at this point. Like if Matt goes down indefinitely, we are screwed at this point.
This team, yeah.
So I don't agree with the high pick of a quarterback, but I do agree that a quarterback, we need to start having that conversation eventually. But
so would second round be considered high?
In terms of a contract situation, that's mainly the biggest focus that you got to take into account.
Yeah, the financial situation of things.
Do you also have like the 5th-year options that would happen if you decide to choose in the first round, whether that's 1 to 32? That's still, that's still an issue. But the contracts would be more friendly for us if we go for the later rounds. But are those the types of quarterbacks that you want to rely on your future for?
Well, like I said previous, you do find some solid quarterbacks in the later rounds because right now at this point, Matt Ryan is not going anywhere. So if you can get somebody that can kind of sit behind him and at least catch on in the background and develop, I can agree with that. But of course, not at the cost of, our financial situation either, though.
Yeah.
So we can get somebody in the free agency or whatever we can figure out just to kind of, groom them a little bit. Yes, but we got to look at our financial situation as well if we can afford that at this point. Because we do got a lot of needs.
Yeah.
At this point, we got a lot more needs than quarterback at this point.
Definitely.
And quarterback is definitely not top 1 priority for the Atlanta Falcons.
Well, everyone else in the chat says Morgantron Prime. He says disagree. All I need is fixing. Hey, no matter who we put there, they're gonna have to get protected. Whether that is drafting in the trenches first, or train the guys that you have right now because everyone's pretty young. Okay. Yeah, so you said yes, build the trenches, then worry about a quarterback. Jan Elliott says, I disagree for this year's draft class, but next year I would agree. Fair statement. Hopefully you can build up your team by then. Build the quarterback up for success. If you do it this year, maximum, or at least possibly minimum, you have around 12 draft picks to work with all the compensatory picks and whatnot. If the draft class right now for the quarterback room wasn't high before, and now that the college season is close to ending, how do you guys feel about these other mid-round quarterbacks for this year's class? Just in terms of, watching college football and seeing how many guys you would put your trust into.
I really don't have anybody that I have on my list or radar that I'm like, yeah, that's the guy we want right about now. I feel like we have some potentials coming in that's just getting to college pretty soon. We have some, prospects coming up, but right now this draft class, I feel like we can wait another year for a quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. If a quarterback falls to like the 4th, maybe 3rd round, a quarterback like Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong, I think Desmond Ridder and Matt Corral, I would take a chance to let them sit behind Matt Ryan as the developmental quarterback.
Okay, everything ATL says not in the draft. So there are some possible, free agent quarterbacks. I don't know if we could land them, but the other question that comes along with this too is like, would you need to get rid of Matt Ryan in order to accomplish that goal?
It's still financial suicide to get rid of Matt Ryan at this point. It's just really the smart thing here is let him ride out the rest of that, at least for the next 2 years. Right now, we just kind of got to roll with them.
Do you guys think that they're gonna do I think it was another restructure to create more cap space?
I heard, it might be another situation like that.
I wouldn't mind it. Just his play, it's not, people say it's dropping off tremendously, but I don't think it is. I think it's a mixture between talent and, a young offensive line. and a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, the man is on his back more than anybody I know.
Literally,
this man is literally on the ground a lot.
Every play.
It's not much he can do with this offensive line.
Yeah, I don't think Matt Ryan's the problem. If we're talking about anything.
Yeah, I mean, he also said just sign the fastest undrafted quarterback. That was kind of Felipe Franks, if you think about it.
Yeah.
It's good. Had this to say. He said, I'd only use 2 of our picks on offensive players. Those are a wide receiver and a running back.
Yeah, we definitely got to address that wide receiver and running back situation.
Yeah. Okay, so he's kind of thinking like maybe do an extension and then trade, but would that require us to take the brunt of the contract like we did with Julio? I try to see if I can get an answer for that. Says because if you don't fix that offensive line, that rookie quarterback will be sacked for sure and probably be injured.
And you could ruin his confidence, honestly. Put him
exactly.
out there.
Once you get hit that many times, ask David Carr how the rest of his career went. Look what happened to the Falcons when the coordinator got hired before the season was completely over. Shanahan was already worried about what he was going to do in San Francisco. It's another thing too. Just like with all the other ones that came before him, how many other these quarterback or offensive coordinators does Matt Ryan have to give a head coaching job to again?
Really, a lot of people jobs.
Because they kept leaving him. Jonathan Simmons, he says, we got to do our due diligence in scouting a quarterback in the later rounds. First things first, we got to build both lines up. It's just a boo-boo. Real said the lack of pressure is the hardest thing to watch in this team by far. Ray literally said,
We're missing the I part.
Okay. Ruiz says Matt Corral will be a top 10 pick. Pickett is going in the first. We're fine. Use this draft to focus on building the rest of our team. Derek Stingley, quarterback out of LSU, is a guy I might look at, especially, hey, if the season were to end, we would land at the 8th spot right now, or 8th or 9th, whatever. Derek Stingley is projected to go in that region. Pairing him up with AJ Terrell, giving us 2 lockdown corners that we can have for a long time, hopefully. That I really like the idea of. Mm-hmm. Give us the vibes of like the Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain days back in the early 2000s for the Dolphins. Daivon puts his trust in Felipe Franks. And I still want to see some of him too.
Yeah, you can't give up on him. He hasn't had a good opportunity to show himself.
Yeah, don't let that Patriots play or plays be like what you remember him for permanently.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be fair no matter who they is.
Yeah. It's his rookie year.
So, we have that to consider. If people want the tangibles like that, and they want that quarterback to be in the same room with Matt Ryan moving forward so that he can kind of like coach him up, that's still a possibility with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's technically still a possibility with Josh Rosen, the guy ahead of him in the depth chart. There's a problem with that, though, is that I don't want to I just don't have as much confidence in him.
No.
So, Maggie, any last thoughts?
I appreciate everybody just tuning in. Y'all continue to watch us on Saturday night. Noah, Daivon. I appreciate everybody just watching us on a Saturday. You could be out doing a hell of other things right about now, but you're sitting here watching Atlanta Falcons Nation. But I gotta jump off, you guys. I appreciate you guys, but continue to show them support and love and hit that subscribe as well. I'll be in the chats though. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. So Yeah, so everything ATL says that would be a good idea to try to like, hey, let the other team take care of trading or the contract as far as trying to trade right away. So there will be a team that needs a quarterback with cap room. Cap will go up again. Is true.
I'm thinking a team like this is like next year, but a team like the Colts, they'll have a lot of cap space, and if Carson Wentz doesn't work out, and they want somebody that can run an offense efficiently with veteran savviness, Colts would be a good contender.
Yeah, I mean,
They aren't a bad team.
they're not. They have a lot of things in place already.
Mm-hmm.
But they are almost twice as bad as us in terms of dead cap money.
Really?
Yeah. Could they accept a contract like Matt Ryan right now? If they were to try to like get rid of, I don't know, would we end up with Carson Wentz at that trail?
Yeah, I was saying what Carson Wentz contract is the problem, isn't it? Because I think the Eagles got rid of it, and they ate a lot of dead cap for that.
Yeah, and the Colts are still somehow paying for that too.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
trying to get that decision, that'd be even worse.
Oh yeah. I forgot about Carson Wentz's contract.
I wouldn't have a problem with not going over there. Be another number 2 for them. Malik Cohen says, if you get his many times as Matt and anticipate pressure and you see things that aren't there, making you less comfortable with taking risk. Is true. Jeez, all right. Already given up on him. Okay. Says we have no pass rush, never really had one. Well, we had
John
one
Abraham.
year with Vic Beasley and then John Abraham before him. But about like like on both sides of the line, I don't really think that's been stated. Especially with like what DNPs wants to do with like pressure up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
When those linemen of the Cowboys left, asked Troy Aikman about those concussions. Yeah, that was a big problem for him. That's what ended his career ultimately. And even then, like the Cowboys, when they drafted Aikman back in '89, they went 1-15. Like they could have said, "Hey, let's do what the Cardinals did right now, or a couple of years ago. Just get rid of the guy that we had. Just hope for someone better than him." But hey, they stuck around with it. They had their own process. Herschel Walker had a lot to do with that. And we obviously saw the end result for there, and we're not going to hear the end of it from the Cowboys fans.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with that. But let's get on with some of the other ones that was mentioned before that, though. We had a couple of other statements/questions that was there. Yeah, this one from Bridget Kelsey. She says, do you agree that next year with drafting and free agency that Falcons will be able to make the playoffs by at least next year? So agree or disagree, Falcons have what it takes to make the playoffs next year?
Oh, I completely agree. Just because, I mean, of course the NFC isn't going to be as bad as it is this year, but I mean, honestly, with more weapons, with Matt Ryan, a year under the belt with Arthur Smith, a defense getting the people that they want in there, the young talent getting more experience, because we have a lot of rookies playing, pivotal roles on this team, and they're definitely going to get more experience. So, yeah, definitely by next year.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of first year or second year guys.
Yeah,
third years. Like these guys are still so young in the NFL. And that's about like the average lifespan of a player at this point. Mm-hmm. Now that everyone as like as a unit, as a fan base is in general, people are a lot more impatient when it comes to seeing how well their team can do moving forward. Like they don't want to do the rebuilding process anymore as much as it is celebrated in some fan bases. So it just sends a bad message to the players that are playing for that team that wants to tank.
Yeah.
And because like they're playing for their future. Like they don't care about the future of the team so much as they want their own future to work well so that they can have what it takes to provide for their family moving forward. Like that's what gets them motivated every single day. It's not so much that they were like so devout to the team because most likely you're not going to go to the team that you grew up loving.
Yeah. It's rare.
Even Matt Ryan himself, he grew up as an Eagles fan because he was from Pennsylvania. It's like you take those situations into account because if the team's not going to be loyal to you, how loyal can you be to the team? Especially when a lot of positions they go through a cycle every year because they want to be that best team. And if you can't perform, then year one, if you can't give them the good results by yesterday, they have no loyalty to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then that puts a lot of pressure on these other guys once their career is done to look for something else to do. But since they've dedicated their entire life to football, and then they went to the one bad situation with the impatient front office that wanted to boot them out because they thought that they were the problem. I'm sorry, but that's a bad message to your team. Which is why I like what we're doing now. Try as hard as you possibly can. If you don't win, you don't win. We can do something about that later on.
Yeah, I definitely don't get why they're like, why would Fontenot say that we're trying to win now and build? Like he should just say we're trying to rebuild. Like what GM would really say that? Like we're just gonna rebuild. We're not worried about winning. Like I don't think, especially when you have a quarterback like Matt Ryan at the helm, you don't. If you had Justin Fields, I could understand. We're taking time to rebuild. We started our future, but with Matt Ryan to sit here and say, we're losing this year.
Yeah, we don't care about your season.
Yeah, like Matt Ryan doesn't deserve that, and I think they are doing what they said they would do. They're building for the future, and they're trying to win now. So
yeah, it's hard to put your foot in both of those.
Yeah, it is. It's
crossing both lines.
How the Falcons are doing it, which for me, I'm just like, oh, okay.
And what that would do is that kind of provides like the perfect recipe for an 8-9 type of season.
Yeah.
Which we might be on pace to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to know that our coaches, they're trying to instill fight in the team, even if everyone around them knows that they don't really have much of a chance to win.
Yeah.
Giving them that confidence when you're in a bad spot as far as a roster is going, making sure that, hey, that you have what it takes in order to fill your job as a position. Because the front office, they're going to get a lot more grace periods, if you will, than a player. You can't write off certain years as a player and just be like, well, just focus on these years because this is where they can't do that.
Yeah.
When it comes to the front office, though, they have all these different years. They have multiple draft classes to go through, and they're putting a bunch of players' careers just throwing them up for grabs.
Yeah.
And also that they can satisfy the need to get the top person when they were too busy trying not to build the roster instead. Try not to get a winning mentality on your team. But when we go to the comments, let's see what everyone else had to say about here. We got some more people going on in here. Is Green, Mr. Motivator. How's it going? Isaac Crimes. He says we should be a better defensive team next year. I fully agree on that.
Definitely.
Mike Walker says, yeah, the front office has been loyal to Ryan. If you listen to these fans, he would have been gone. Yeah, he would have been gone before he was drafted. He would have pulled an Eli Manning, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, so Morgan Prime, he says he agrees with the next year of playoffs with 1 year under Arthur Smith offense and DP's defense. Yes, I can see them making it to the playoffs next season. Good. Michael Walker says 8-9 is a lot better than 4-12, or 0-17 for that matter. Which, a certain number of people had us projected to go there just because, out of spite. Usually when teams tank, they trade a lot of their players away. Jacksonville Jaguars did that in 2017 when they let go of Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Fournette, Calais Campbell. They had Malik Jackson. That whole issue with Telvin Smith. Like, basically the only person that was there that's still there on the team is Miles Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else around them just changed, and unfortunately, he's the only one that had to stay. And like she said, like they're still rebuilding. They're trying to restart that cycle instead of, hey, stick around with these other people. Try to get a win developed.
They even traded C.J. Henderson too. So I mean, it's just, and honestly, the way they're going with James Robinson, they might trade him.
Yeah, because they're expecting to have Travis Etienne back for next year. Everyone forgot about him. So it's like that was supposed to be his third down option. James Robinson was supposed to be his number one and number two. They have Laviska Shenault, which a lot of people still praise.
I think they're gonna let go of DJ Chark too, right? I think they re-signed him.
Yeah, he's probably not going to want to be back there. They still have Marvin Jones that they signed from this offseason as well. Mm-hmm. They tried something with Tebow.
Yeah, I was like, what was that?
And their defense is still has a lot to be desired. They can play well at some spurts. But I don't know if I can be tested to how good the Jaguars defense can be at times versus how inconsistent we've seen Buffalo this year too.
Yeah. That's more of the reason why that happened.
It's like I kind of say it's more of like Buffalo's doing or lack of doing than that game, rather than like, hey, I mean, it was more Josh Allen just stopping Josh Allen.
Yeah, just for the memes.
Exactly. I fully believe that he invested his entire season just to do as good as he possibly could for that one particular game. Yep. And then, you're just going to take the vacation for the rest of the season. Not be really heard of again. But, if the front office listened to the fans, we'd be the next no man's land in the NFL. Currently Detroit, but it used to be Buffalo until 2017. Like, you just went over there just for your career to die, essentially.
Yeah.
And there's really, it's a long process in order to get out of that mentality. All right? Like, when you go through so many years of just losing, when you're trying your best, ask former Falcon, Mr. Falcon himself, Tommy Nobis, how he felt. He just completely gave up on the team, even though he was still like one of the best linebackers in the history of the game at that point. There's a little history lesson for you. But one last one, and then we're gonna call it a stream here. Generally, it says, so does Ridley come back? Agree or disagree? Maybe a last thing that we'll say. Very controversial topic there, but agree or disagree? I am still going to remain on the fence about him.
Yeah.
I've been perched up there for a while, ever since it was really been said since, last game against the Panthers.
Yeah.
Because it's just not fair in order to assume when you don't know anything about the situation.
Yeah, we know zero about it.
So, but what could that do though for, those that are trying to write him off as being gone, and then he does come back?
Yeah.
How does the fan base accept him?
See, so I don't know how this works. I think the team can decide to pay him either way, but I read somewhere he has to come back for at least one more game. He doesn't have to play. He just has to be on like the active roster. in order to be eligible to get paid in full or something like that. But the team can always opt, which I think they will, just for PR reasons. But he's on
I
his
don't
5th-year option
know.
next year, right? I think that's.
This would have been his 5th-year option because we declined
Okay.
Hayden Hurst's, but I don't know if that was being something said of our if he doesn't play anymore, then that might be extended for the Falcons.
Yeah.
And if that was
I
the
think that's
case,
how it is.
then we can just pick up Hayden Hurst's, keep him, make sure that backup spot on tight end is
Yeah, and Ridley's would still
there.
be there because he didn't play a whole season or 6 games.
Being on the NFI list or non-football injury, that does something
Mm-hmm.
to what you can do with the contract, I'm sure. But yeah, it's is that a situation that comes up where the fan base distrusts him because he's quote unquote not loyal?
Now, I can see. I can say one thing. When the season first started, I was at the Eagles game, and like I noticed, even looking back at the highlights, seeing on the field, Ridley, whenever Matt Ryan was getting pressured, and there was like a miscommunication, I did see his body language, and it was very down. I saw that multiple weeks with the Giants. So I can't say there was something wrong from the very beginning. Definitely. So, but I don't know if it's loyalty or if it's just mental health. So we just got to see what happens. Honestly, wait and see.
Yeah, but like, how many weeks if we had to say, like, guys,
Maybe next week.
Don't pump the brakes on either side here.
Mm-hmm. You gotta wait to see more.
Just because that I'm just on the fence about it, that doesn't mean that I'm automatically leaning to the fact that he might be back. I'm just saying that's not my decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
And how often has Arthur Smith shut down that question so many times in all of his press conferences? It's you're asking the wrong person as to what this is about for. So
I think if Ridley comes back 100% into his capacity, and we have him for not free, but essentially free, definitely keep him and let him go after that if you don't want to resign him at 28 years old, which I would understand, being that old. So
yeah,
he is an older receiver.
I don't know if they could. I don't think this front office is this type of way, but do you think they could possibly like an emotional or like go on, have a contract in the works for him just off of pure emotions for him? Just hey, we'll give you this kind of money for this year. We'll give you this kind of deal to work with, but
I think they still pay him his $4. I think it's $4 million base salary. I think that's what I read.
His $4 base salary. Jeez.
But, hey, yeah, take
no wonder why that guy was sad. My God.
Take that $4. But I think they're gonna pay him his base salary and go from
all the
there.
flack you would get as a Falcons player, and all you get out of that was $4.
You would think. Hey. Yeah, I know $10 million is his extension, right?
Or
1 year.
Yeah, if we give him that 5th year, if we exercise that 5th year option for him, and that does go true, I think that by the position that would give him $10 million. That would be a different story if we were to do something for, let's say, Hayden Hurst.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be making as much money given the position.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say if you could rewrite this, you accept Hayden Hurst's position first. You exercise his 5th year option, because wide receivers are substantially easier to come by, let's say.
Yeah.
Plus, you needed a bunch of them already.
Yeah.
So hey, you locked down the tight end position for what would seem to be a while now. Having Pitts there, having Hayden Hurst as his backup, and then I don't know what we would do with Lee Smith. he could possibly retire, but maybe the friendship with Kyle Pitts can lure him to stay in for another year. Because I like him on the field as a run blocker. I don't know what we would feel about him
as a pass catcher a lot.
Exactly.
I'm like, maybe
I think he's hit his career highs there.
Yeah. Running routes.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if I would trust him consistently on that when you go out 5 wide.
Yeah.
And your options are Olamide Zaccheaus, Lee Smith, Parker Hesse, Kyle Pitts, and Cordell Patterson. Those last 2 names sound good, but yeah, so does all 11 of the defensive guys are saying the same thing.
There was a formation last week that had Keith Smith, Lee Smith, and who's the other?
Parker Hesse, right?
And Parker Hesse. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why are you 5 wide?
I don't care what the route is. you can't do anything.
That is her. I could say a run play, but 5 wide? What was that? For 3rd down? Yeah, that wasn't good.
And that's where, again, it goes back to the problem where you're overthinking your position here as a coach.
Overthinking. 3rd and 2, why are you 5 wide? Not only that, why is that your personnel on the field? Doesn't make any sense. And then I think that's when we punted the ball and they gave the ball back to the Bucs the whole 4th quarter.
Yeah, they ate up so much of the clock. I was surprised to find out that we actually beat them in terms of time of possession.
We did?
By a couple minutes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but apparently we had 32 minutes of offense.
That's
so. My goodness.
Hey, Mr. Motivator, I love that confidence, man. We got to keep that going for the rest of the year. Hopefully, we can make something happen. Just take it week by week.
Hey, no one's going to root for the Falcons for us.
Yeah, nobody. I didn't I know we were talking about that in the chat earlier. I'm not gonna name the name of the show that I watch that they talk about the Falcons, but somebody said I would rather the team not be in the playoffs at all than to make the playoffs and get beat. And I totally disagreed with that because I don't understand why you would root for a team that's been one of the worst teams in the NFL the last couple of years, make the playoffs their first year under their head coach with this roster. Even if we do get blown out, we made it with this roster. It doesn't matter how we made it. It's the fact that we made it. And not only that, we are still in a decent draft position, So I don't buy people saying I don't want this team to make playoffs. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. First of all, you don't have a choice because you're not a player or a coach. Second of all, that doesn't do anything about boosting your own confidence as being a fan here. And third of all, I don't know why you would have all that kind of stuff to say and then expect to do way past that the next year.
Exactly.
Like you're not setting yourself up for anything good in your own head, either on a short-term or a long-term basis.
Mm-hmm.
So you go with what you got, and you leave it at that.
I mean, imagine making the playoffs and say, "Oh, I wish we didn't make it." And what did they win? Like, what are you gonna say then? What did they win the first game on because we're good on the road? What did they win on the road? And all of a sudden they start getting hot. They win again. It's like, what the? Oh well, now I'm glad. I just don't like people who make statements like that, then go back once they do the opposite and try to cheer for them. I think if you make a statement, at least make people understand why you made that statement, but don't just make a statement and just go, yeah, I don't want this team to make playoffs. That's it. Like what the.
Yeah, well, probably just like what Bridget Kelsey says. She's like, hey, they just want draft picks because apparently all of these different years and everything that we've talked about up until now, no, that doesn't matter because everything that I've apparently seen is that you only get good players when you pick in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone else is trash.
I remember when we drafted AJ Terrell, everybody was like, no, we shouldn't have got it. He got burnt by Jamar Chase.
Yeah, like that didn't do anything good for him, but maybe that's like the ultimate chip on his shoulder that he has to deal with now.
He's like, oh yeah.
Because like, oh, you didn't show like a single good thing that I've done? Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to get to the NFL.
All right. Well, hey. Keep that same energy when I actually perform.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and now that he's done well, like, Oh, hey,
People are
well,
still
hey, look,
bashing
here's Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah,
and his
everybody's still bashing him.
interceptions, and it's like,
Like
dude,
he doesn't
you're
guard
focused on.
everybody. It's like, come on, man.
It's like, hey, you work with
Like
what you got,
yeah.
and the fact that we have one corner that we're confident in. How long has it been since we've been able to say that? Since Brent Grimes?
Yeah.
I mean, probably Desmond Trufant too.
Yeah, for the first couple years.
But
At the
like
very
one guy
end,
that, yeah, I think. Well, I think probably like receivers like figured him out once they realized that, hey, after a certain amount of time, where when you give the quarterback all day to throw, hey, look, turns out the coverage, regardless of who the cornerback and receiver would be, turns out you can't stay with a receiver after a certain amount of time. That's why, plays after plays, like the breakdown plays, why they're so effective. If you're not like on constant defensive pass interference land, or you're there anyways, but then like the quarterback just makes a great throw, there's not much you can do to defend yourself or to defend the wide receiver when it's improv.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what Trufant had to deal with all the time.
Exactly. I actually have another statement, but I'm gonna save it for next week because it's a good.
All right. Well, don't forget it. Write it down. Because now
definitely.
you got like 30 some odd people that are going to be expecting it now.
Oh yeah, I definitely want their opinion about it too.
All right. Well, you got that going on for you. There's one over here. What would Atlanta do if we make it to the playoffs and Super Bowl? When Seattle made it in 2010, they had a losing record and they still beat the Saints for us.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Beastquake? That was in that game.
Yeah.
Like sometimes.
Was it the Giants that I know they beat us in the wild card that one year they won the Super Bowl, but they beat an undefeated Patriots team. So
I think you're thinking about two different years.
Oh, really?
2007 was the undefeated Patriots team. 2011 was when they beat us in the wild card. I mean, they still beat the Patriots after that, but
yeah, confusing. But yeah, it's just teams like that can make a run. So
even if you don't make that run, you can at least put an impression on yourself for the next season, just kind of like what Washington did. Yeah. Nobody expected them to be in that game against Tampa Bay. They had a losing record as well.
No.
They also didn't have like their second or their starting or backup quarterback. I'm just saying, like, they carried that with them to next year, and now they feel good about themselves because they've done it already. Like, this is the type of stuff that you need to think about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, above all, we should be able to trust in this team. We should be able to trust in the guys that we have moving forward, at least in the front office. In the coaching rooms and all that. I would love to see what their full plan is. Be the fly in the wall in that room, as what they talk about the off-season program.
Yeah.
That's going to have a lot to say about what is going on with this team moving forward. What type of team will we actually be? Or I think it's going to come down to like re-signing certain guys versus finding new talent somewhere else. Like if we were to re-sign Cordell Patterson, for example,
like a Cordell,
bring him back for maybe like 1 or 2 years. Like, what does that say about our offense now? I want to make sure that they have a theme going on there. And then as far as the defensive side,
identity.
Hey, yeah, wait, are you going to bring back Isaiah Oliver? Secure the secondary as much as you can. Or are you going to stop the bleeding in terms of other positions and try to get like Foye back? So, a lot of question marks. but that will be discussed as we get closer and closer to the off season. All right, guys. Well, I think we're gonna close it off right here. This is usually a little bit longer than what we. Well, I mean, last time we kind of had like a 3-hour one show, but yeah, we're gonna end it off right here. End the show while we're ahead. Stop the count, if you will. But yeah, last thoughts. Anyone from the chat?
I say enjoy the game tomorrow, and just try to enjoy watching the Falcons, and look for development on these young players because they are making plays out there.
Yeah. Ooh. Someone said it earlier in the comments, and I agree with them. Find a way, any sort of way, you can get Frank Darby on that offense. Any sort of way.
Yes, please.
I don't care.
I just want to see him once.
So, all right, y'all. We're going to end this set here. And go Falcons.